Hello there, my name is Brother Sean, and I want to share with you some personal thoughts about a wise old saying that my grandmother gave me as a young man who'd entered a Catholic monastery back in the mid-60s. And it came about because I was sharing with her about why so many of my peer group of that time were reluctant to follow their heart. And she shared with me, you can bring a horse to the well, but you can't make it drink. And I really didn't get it, because I'm not very good at getting jokes. But years on, Granny, of course, has passed away. And I think about what that joke really means for me now. You can bring a horse to the well, but you can't make it drink. And what is that saying to you? Maybe you've got a different take on it. But for me, it means that despite all the encouragement, support, nurturing, coaching, training, pastoral support, that people will do what they want to do when they want to do it. And although the analogy may not be a perfect one, but it sort of sums it up, doesn't it? You can bring the horse to the well, but you can't make it drink. I guess throughout my journey, I guess I too represented that horse, because I stuck my heels in, and the hair on my neck would stand when there was a confrontation of sorts. But today, many of us know that we have entered an exciting phase in our spiritual pathway to God. Whoops, should I have used the word God? Because I know many people switch off today, excuse me, to the word God. Because many, sadly, have painful memories from those who represented God. But I see God now not as a vengeful God, as I did as a young Catholic nursing monk. I see God as a friend, as a helper, and more so today, the company of heaven, beings of light, messengers of the Supreme, who come to us, who guide us, who speak to us. But are you hearing what they're saying? I can't lecture you, and besides, it's not my agenda to do that. But I would like to share with you the importance of honoring your heart, because you know your heart is your greatest teacher. In fact, it is your only teacher. Please let me read this wonderful reading from a lovely little book called Jesus Calling. And it says, come to me when you are hurting, and I will soothe your pain. Come to me when you are joyful, and I will share your joy, multiplying it many, many times over. And Jesus is saying, I am all you need, just when you need it. Your deepest desires find fulfillment in me alone. And he goes on to say, this is the age of self-help. Bookstores abound with books about taking care of number one, making oneself the center of things. The main goal of these methodologies is to become self-sufficient and confident. You, however, have been called to take a road less traveled, continual dependence on me. True confidence comes from knowing you are complete in my presence. Everything you need has its counterpart in me. And I would like to pose a question to your heart. What was that saying to you really? I know a lot of my friends, like myself, have an addictive personality. And I know for many of them, when they go into a bookstore, they're drawn automatically to the self-help section. And they spend a fortune each year on these self-help books. But what is so interesting is that you and I have all the tools we need to self-heal, to empower ourselves, reawaken our heart, to hear the divine speak to us. But not many are willing to do that, because it's not clever. And besides, when you go to a friend's house, the first thing you look at is their CD collection. And on the strength of the CD and the quality of the music, you make an assumption, oh, if there's lots of classical music, you think, wow, highbrow. And if you happen to see the bookshelves and you go, ooh, these are clever people, I best not trip myself up by appearing ignorant. Have you ever been in that situation? Because I have many times. But today, let's come back to the question. You can bring a horse to the well, but you can't make it drink. How come that many of us who embrace the light know intuitively in our higher self that we are experiencing a major shift of consciousness? And we know that we are being guided to ascend. And to do that, it means facing our greatest fear, meeting the challenges head on, and not running away. I was talking to a very dear friend the other day, and they had hit rock bottom, not once but many times in the last 10-15 years. And I remember spending a lot of time with them. And each time it's the same story, but dressed with a different use of language. But it's basically the same story on a different day. And I wonder why they are repeating the same scenario and trying to empower them, support them, walk beside them. It's quite challenging, because there's a part of you in your humanity where you want to kick ass, as our brother Americans would say. But you can't do that. But now, in my ministry, I'm not allowed to take prisoners. If clients ring me on the phone that remember me when I used to travel around the world running workshops and retreats, they would ring me and say, do you remember me? And I'd say, well, give us a clue. Where are you phoning from? And I would say, oh, yes. How are you? Oh, not good. So I would ask, what was the problem? Basically, the problem was the same problem when I last met them, usually 5-6 years ago. And they were wanting to burden me with the same story, and I would say, stop. I'm not going to rescue you. But then they'd say, oh, but you're a monk. I said, yes, but I'm not a doormat. I said, I'll hold you in my prayer, but I'm not willing to listen to the same old story. And there's a scenario of you can bring the horse to the well, but you can't make it drink, because they're not willing to face whatever is ailing them. And it would appear that they seem to enjoy being in victimhood. Today we cannot take chances, because the earth is evolving, the animal kingdom is evolving, mankind is trying to evolve, and many of us who've surrendered our heart and embraced the Supreme and the company of heaven, we have transcended through third into fourth dimensional energy many beings of light are actually transcending into fifth dimensional energy, waiting the cosmic Christ. So where are you in this scenario? Are you digging your heels in, reluctant to face whatever ails you? Or are you willing today to honor your heart, to embrace whatever, and be willing to accept the advice from the company of heaven to your heart? I hope so. Namaste.